This episode of the podcast is sponsored by David Shapiro Remax Around Atlanta Realty. David Shapiro Remax Around Atlanta Realty, best realtor in the game here in Atlanta. Tash, who the hell did we have on tonight?
Tell me.
Man, we had Emanuel and the Fear. Emanuel from Emanuel and the Fear stopped by with us, had an awesome conversation. Talked Pete Peterson, talked a little bit about my funeral. I mean, it's a hell of an episode, folks. Check it out. Tash, roll the motherfucking tape.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Indiebnb. Today we're joined by Emanuel Ayvas from the band Emanuel and the Fear from Brooklyn. How's it going, Emanuel?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you guys?
We're doing good. We're stoked to have you on. You're one of Grant's favorite artists, and he's been, chomping at the bit to get you on. So we're super stoked to finally get you on here tonight.
Yes, I'm honored. Thank you.
So, I always like to start sort of at the beginning, seems like you're sort of the obviously the front man of this band, but how did Emanuel and the Fear come to be?
When I got out of college, I graduated college and started interning at this recording studio in Brooklyn. It was called Ishlab. And I was working there for studio time was the only pay that I got, and to learn how to record and stuff. And I had been doing some studio work in college, but then when I got to New York, that's when I really got some hands-on experience with like real professional stuff. And we worked with some bigger artists that came through that studio. Which was cool. It was a lot of like hip hop and R&B stuff. And then like MIA was there, and the dudes. There was also rock stuff though too. I think like the Killers came through or something like that. It was a small studio. A lot of like hip hop groups from Brooklyn were coming through and stuff. But anyways, I learned how to like work all the gear and do production and things like that. And the guy who owned the studio approached me because I had a band that I'd started in Brooklyn, actually, even though I was living in Jersey, where I'm from at the time, which is I'm from like really close to New York City, so I would just like bus and train into Brooklyn. And then I'd started a band there that like lasted a year. We recorded a demo, somehow got a record deal, and who put us in the studio, bought us a van, and like put us on tour around the country. And then we broke up, like disastrous. But the guy who owned the studio obviously heard the record because we made it there and we gave it to him. And he approached me and was like, "I like what you do, and I want to record a record of your music." And at that point, I was like kind of devastated by the band breaking up so quickly, and having this like record company that I felt really bad, like having to like collapse, after they'd put money into us. And so I like shaved my head and drove to Los Angeles and moved there. I was like, fuck this, I'm moving to LA. But right before I left, the producer in Brooklyn approached me and said, you need to start a band and I want to record it. So I went to LA knowing that I could start a band and get like a really well done record made. So I went there and wrote it, did some work out there in like film scoring stuff. I actually worked as like a copyist for some really big like Fox films and stuff, 20th Century Fox things. And then came back to New York within a year with the first Emanuel and the Fear demo. And then we went on Craigslist, hired a band, tracked it in the room, and started playing shows. And then it just like became Emanuel and the Fear from there. So that's kind of the beginning story of it. And that was back. I started working at that studio in 2005. I graduated college in 2005. And then we started doing the first demo. It's funny, my cousin just sent me, who I lived with in LA, just sent me a picture of a burnt CD that she found cleaning her house that said Emanuel and the Fear demo and I think it said 2006. No, it said 2007 on it. So it was literally the demo I made in my bedroom in Los Angeles.
Wow.
Like that she still has now, which I can't even like think of what it is. Like it's not the demo that we put out on MySpace then. It was like a whole other thing.
Yeah.
So I think I have it somewhere. I don't know. I'm not as organized apparently as she is. So. So between some of my friends, my body of work exists somewhere. So, but yeah, that's how it started.
That was awesome. What obviously you're Emmanuel. What's where did the fear come from?
The fear actually it was meant to be more of like a conceptual thing, like Emmanuel and the idea of the fear, like this thing that we're all kind of horrified of death or life or whatever, or ourselves, and then it was just such a big band, which is kind of daunting, especially on like we were playing like small stages in the beginning, so it'd be like this, completely full people with violins hitting each other with the bows, so people just called them the Fear. I mean, it makes sense why you would think that, but like it was never meant to be like the band. Is that it was really just like me and this idea, but it did become a band when we started touring a lot. We became much more democratic and started functioning like a traditional band, with all those things that come along with it. People sharing ideas and writing together and all that.
Yeah, and I saw where on your Spotify page where y'all at some point y'all have up to 11 people playing together. How does you say y'all started becoming more democratic? How does that work when you're writing and recording? How do y'all go about putting a song together when you got that many people?
Well, when after having gone through that kind of tumultuous breakup with the first band, when I had this production deal in front of me, and I was like, I am not starting another band because I do not want to deal with people yelling at me and getting in trouble for whatever, because I didn't say things the nice way or this. And I mean, I just have you guys seen the new Beatles documentary, the Peter Jackson one?
Not yet. I've got it on my list.
It's really, I mean, it's very, if you're not a Beatles fan, I could see it maybe not being so good. It's very long, but it's really cool if you like the Beatles. But there was a lot of like tension between them, and like I could see how certain personalities caused. I felt like I was any one of the people in that band. I have been, the person feeling like someone's being a jerk to them and vice versa. But yeah, so I started Emanuel the Fear, and I was like, I don't want band members. I don't want people to like tell me this, or to just have mood swings where. And the reason wasn't because I like working with other people. It was more because I didn't want to get a record deal and then have someone turn out to be, however, and then we can't have the record label anymore or the record deal and the whole thing collapses. So I decided, and I also wanted to do, because I studied classical composing in college, so I wanted to like score stuff and do that. So I wrote all the songs and like literally wrote out all of the scores for all the strings, all the synths. It's all like written down and scored on paper. And then we would have the 11 or 12 people come, and we would practice once before a show. I would hand them the sheet music, and that would be it. And we would just go and play on stage, and it worked well. I mean, it was kind of I don't know. I was young and kind of crazy back then. Like, I don't know if I have the energy to do what we did back then. To try and you know, it was something. Somehow it just always worked out. We would have our set people in our band, but if they couldn't do it, there would be a sub, and there was always the sheet music, so we didn't have to like practice as much as normal bands do. Um, so that was that. When we started becoming more democratic, we kind of whittled ourselves down to 6 people, though. So it became a little easier to talk. And to be honest, when we did, we started. That's when heads started to butt a little bit in that time, especially being on the road so much. Not that like anyone didn't get along, but there was a lot more arguing, I would say, in that time. Because 6 is still a big band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, yeah, you see people with hell 3 people, and you're going to get some creative control issues. So
Oh,
y'all more or less, does someone come with an idea and bounce it off people, or is it more just you coming with a main idea and then kind of spread it around the band and they kind of build upon it?
yeah. I mean, for that band, like it generally is my. I'll come out with songs, show them to everyone. Will do it. Uh, I mean, some of the people in that band write songs, but not most of them don't really write on their own. Though they're more into like writing their own parts or doing production stuff. Um, we have a newer member. Her name is Sarah, who's on the cover of the Primitive Smile album with like the red and the blue.
Hmm.
I don't know if you guys have seen that, but
Yeah.
she writes her own songs a lot, and she's brought stuff to the table, and all that, which is great. I'm into it. I'm down to hear other things and work on whatever. So she just did a record of her own stuff and released it this week, actually.
Yeah, that's always a interesting thing to me. Like one of my favorite bands is LCD Sound System, and just seeing what James Murphy's able to do with where he just writes every single part, and then people
Yeah.
come in. It's very interesting to me. So the fact that you were able to do that for even just a short period of time is very impressive.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just like I think it's just the way your brain's wired. Some
Mhm.
people like to look at the bigger thing and put it together. And I think other people don't like. It's like I don't know. It's like liking to do many things at once as opposed to one at a time.
Yeah.
It's like the way your brain prefers it.
Hmm.
Is what I think.
Um, well, let's start talking a little bit about the music. You just released a new single, North American Stranger. Let's talk about that one. It's sort of a new sound for you. What was going on with that one?
Sure. Yeah, I mean that. It's funny. This record is all of these songs were written about 7 years ago,
Hmm.
so they're very old to me. you know,
Yeah.
they were all written at the same time as the last album that came out, Primitive Smile. It was
Hmm.
kind of written as one bundle of things. So, I mean, that song is about me a long, almost a decade ago, which is insane to think about. But the weird thing is, it does feel kind of relevant now, where we're talking about, like, I mean, back then, I had, like, the line about, like, people photoshopping their faces and how, like, if everyone makes themselves look the same, like, um, how will you know who I am? And, like, do you like me? Or how will I know that the people who like me? So I was talking about these things that have become like really overwhelming with social media now. So I feel like that I'm kind of excited about. Like I saw something that has stood the test of time as far as it feeling relevant. Um, but yeah, that one's just about like feeling alone, I guess, in society and feeling like you
Hmm.
don't fit in, even though like other people would look at you and think that you're doing okay, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's really the overarching theme of that. Yeah, and I still feel the same way now, 8 years later. Uh,
Sounds like you hinted at it. Primitive Smile came out in 2016. Is there a new album on the horizon?
for Emanuel Fear,
Yeah.
yeah, we were. It's funny. I wrote 2 albums after that. So Primitive Smile had like an overflow, which is what this album kind of is. And
Hmm.
then I sort of finished that and wrote another album's worth of stuff that I sort of laid on the table for the band. It was like, whenever you want to do this, we'll do it. And people's lives just got kind of crazy, and we stopped touring as much. And so there's at least 2 albums worth of music that we could put out. What I can say is that we are finally starting to play again because the pandemic obviously cut 2 years out of our lives.
Yeah.
And Emmanuel Fear was finishing this in that time
Okay.
because we had been sitting on this forever and we were like, let's just get this done and then we'll move on. in 2020 we finished that record, because that year I produced and finished recording on 7 really is what's happening now with my, like, because I'm releasing a new single every week for the next year. So it's just, I have just way too many things that need to come out. But yeah, there's a lot of new Emanuel and the Fear stuff. When it will come out, I can't say, but it's happening, and it's really different and really weird. It's like we're really letting it, be strange for sure. Yeah.
Good. It sounds like I can hold my breath a little bit on it coming. Sounds like it's coming soon. May not be date certain, but something, a little bit soon.
We're working on it. Yeah, we're like literally setting up weekly rehearsals now. We started and then the Omicron hit, but now we literally, I'm on a text thread with the guys, and like we're gonna be getting, and the viola player is like, she's on tour with Hamilton now, but she's coming back, so we're gonna be in the room a lot, and it's gonna move fast, I think, too, because we're really not trying to be too precious about things. We're trying to just let it out and do it, and we're all in like good shape, and we have our own studio now, so.
Oh yeah,
it should be coming out.
Well, before I kick it over to Grant to hit on the song spotlight and some other things, I just gotta harp on one more song of yours. I was just kind of listening today, just kind of casually listening, and it just randomly popped up a song that really caught my ear. Guatemala. Holy shit, that one jams super hard. It's a little change of pace. Where did that thing come from?
Yeah, man. I grew up in like, I'm from like North Jersey, which had like a very big like hardcore and punk scene.
Mm-hmm.
And in high school, I was kind of sheltered in high school. I hung out with a bunch of lunatics, but my parents were very strict, and so I didn't really get out until I got to college. I started hanging out with friends from around, and they opened the floodgates of like independent music for me, and hardcore is just a thing, and punk and metal and stuff. Something I was always into metal as a kid. Like I was really into Black Sabbath, and like, I mean, Zeppelin was like them, and like Jimi Hendrix were like the most important things to me as a kid. But then like Black Sabbath and like the early Metallica stuff, and I was into like the whole grunge stuff. Obviously, Rage Against the Machine was like a really big band for me when I was a kid. And I was in, and like, oh my god, I'm so shitty with names. I'm sorry. Um, what's that amazing band? The guy like sounds like an opera. They're like from Eastern Europe. Oh my god, Toxicity is the album. System
of the Down.
Yeah, I was like really into them, and so I love that kind of stuff. And it's funny, I was just going back to like really early demos recently, just because I'm putting so much stuff out now. I want to like put out some sort of like old stuff with it too. And I am like screaming all the time. When I was like 19, 20, like just like trying to, I don't know, I was really into this like aggressive thing. And for whatever reason, I didn't go down that road. Like it's Emanuel. People don't think of that when they think of Emanuel. I think they think of like happy, like flowery kind of.
Yeah.
But I try to pepper that in as much as I can with stuff. And every album has an element of that. And I really like noise and experimental music too. And it's in every album. But yeah, Guatemala has that in it for sure. And that riff, kind of melodic riff.
Yeah, it hit me right. I was just I was working and listening, and I was having a good time listening to Emanuel and Fear. And then I was like, oh shit, like, is this a different band? No, it's not. This is Guatemala. So I was like, I gotta ask about this one. But I'm gonna kick it over to G-Rad here to go on the song spotlight, talk some videos, a little live music, and then Pete Peterson.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, my the song spotlight today is Jimmy's song, and specifically the full band version. I really enjoyed you talking earlier about the differences and getting that fullness of sound and everything. So, I'll tell you what the song means to me after you talked about just the the whole entire creation of it from from it wasn't a song to now it's playing in our Spotify and on the CDs that you have, and so take me through the process of how you just made that jam.
Yeah, the first things we released for Emmanuel and the Fear were like a 4-song demo on MySpace, and it had like a few orchestral elements on it, and then we made the EP, which came out the year after. So in '07 that came out. '08, like the early '08 is when we put the demo up, and then '09 the EP came out. So in that year we had the demo, which was 4 songs, which I believe actually that first demo had "Dear Friend" on it and "Balcony," which got pushed to listen, the LP. But it had Guatemala, "Dear Friend," "Balcony," and I think it had one other. I think it maybe, I don't remember. But as we put together the other things, I had this folk song that I wrote on the subway, like commuting around, because I was working as a bartender in Manhattan then, and I was living in the recording studio in Brooklyn that didn't have a bathroom or a shower or a kitchen. For 2 years, I lived on like a shelf above the office. There was like a bed, and you'd climb a ladder that was broken. And I would climb the broken ladder because neither of us we were refusing. We kept blaming one another. The guy who owned the studio. And I was like, "It broke because you have a piece of junk ladder." And he's like, "No, you broke it." So I just had a broken ladder for 2 years, and then I would shower at the gym and just ate out every meal in the studio in Brooklyn. And then so I was living there, and in the commute, I wrote the song very quickly. I remember I heard it in my head on the subway, and I thought it was another song because it just felt catchy. And then I wrote it, like, I think I recorded it. I used to carry like a tape thing back then because I didn't have a smartphone. It was like a little handheld, like mini cassette tape thing, and I like recorded it, and then I went back, wrote it, and was like, let's just put this on the EP as like just me and the guitar. And I remember showing it to a lot of people, like people in the band, and I was like, I really think this is a good song. Do you guys like it? And everyone was like, it's all right. Like that. And I was like, I really think it's good. And the producer said, dude, let's just stay up all night tonight and just try a version of it that has some stuff. And so the two of us just sat all night, and we made electronic drums. We made a drum beat out of sounds we recorded. So like, if you like, a lot of the drums are like the keyboard, like we were going like this, like that, and like the clicking of the mouse pad on the laptop. We like sampled those sounds, and the keys on like a keyboard that we were hitting, but without the piano, like just like those sounds are all things that we made that night. And then we did like all a bunch of synths and stuff like that, and I sang and played bass in one night, and then that literally is what the first version is. And then when we put it out, and then people started just singing it at shows because people were into it, and we were like, oh, I guess this is a good song. And of course I turned to the people in the band and we're like, see, I told you, yes. Nobody believes me. And they're like, no, we didn't say it was bad, we just, whatever. But that's like typical New Yorker. Like, it's fine. I don't know. Everything's shitty to me. Like everyone's like worried they're gonna say they like something that isn't good or something.
What about the whistling? I mean, like there is some elite whistling in a lot of your music. I mean, like, across all of it, but like, I mean, Jimmy's song especially, but also, kind of going back to, Ordinary Line, which you just put out as well. Like, there is elite whistling in both. So is that you? I mean, like, where did you like? Is that your whistling, or is it?
Yeah,
how'd you learn to whistle like that?
Yeah, I'm whistling all the time, man. Yeah, it's my sisters. I think my sisters don't even hear it anymore. But like, when I was living with my cousin, she would turn and be like, "You have to always whistle," and yell at me. What the hell's the matter with you? What I remember she turned to me once when I was living with her in LA, and she was like, "You really are a fucking musician, huh?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You're just always making noise like that." And I was like, "I am? I don't know. I never noticed." Apparently, I'm always whistling and moving around. So, but yeah, whistling is that's my thing, I guess. I love whistling. It's good.
It's such a cool, and like, I mean, this morning when I listened to it on my way to work, and like, you're kind of transitioning that. The reason why the song resonates with me so much is like, I was in a couple jobs that I really didn't like, and like the lyrics really kind of spoke to me. I was like, damn, like, you know, I don't want to do nothing but be in a rock band. I don't want to get a job. And like, I mean, like, so tell me, like, I mean, you wrote that on the subway. Like, what, I guess, kind of, you dive deeper into the lyrics, or is just like, hey, man, like, this is what came to my head. Like, this is what
Yeah,
went
man.
into it.
I had to work all these jobs. I didn't want to do it. I mean, it was like I came out of college, and you know, I was, when you're like 21 or 22, like my parents sat me down and were like, "We're not paying for anything anymore. You're on your own." And I mean, they helped me with a few things. With like, they still paid my like car insurance and my phone, which was like very nice of them. But I remember them saying it to me, and I was like angry. Like, I looked at them and was like, "You're terrible people. I can't understand why you would do this to me. I have no money. You're a horrible person." And like, now I look back and I'm like very thankful that they did that because I think it's important. But I was pissed. I didn't want to work, and I just wanted to focus on my music, and I thought it was so great and important, and no one understood. I didn't realize you have to like, if it's good in here, it doesn't really mean shit until you put it into the world and show people that it's good. So it was. I had a lot of jobs. I've probably had like 50 jobs in my life. I've had so many jobs. Like I can't even remember all of them. And they've gone from very strange and interesting to like torture.
Yeah.
I really could talk for a while about the jobs I've had, but I didn't want to do it, and I felt like it was distracting, and so I was just mad. I was like a 22-year-old angry boy who didn't want to work. You know, and that
Yeah.
song was me venting about it, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely identify with that. I was a little bit older, but I definitely was, man, fuck this. Like, this sucks. What I'm doing
Yeah,
sucks. And, I want to do something different. All I want to do is, X. But, I'm not a musician myself, but like, I think, that the lyrics in that song just ring true. And like, to me, I always have these songs that are periods in my life. And like, I always want to, like, I get them, and I'll play them over and over again. And Jimmy's song was one of those. And so, I'm appreciative because you sat there and your art helped me, cope with some shitty stuff that I was dealing with. So like, I think, you don't often get to tell that to somebody. Like, I can't go tell, you know, Neil Peart that is, the drumming in Rush is like, changed my life. But like, I get to, speak that to you. So, I want you to know that as somebody who appreciates, what you're putting out. So,
that means a
um,
lot, man. I really
so,
appreciate you saying that. I worked very hard, so it's nice to hear
yeah.
that someone's listening to it and liking it.
And in fact, it is on my. I have a playlist that if I were to perish, Tash has my funeral playlist on lock, so he's able to access that on my Spotify. So it is on my funeral playlist. So you'll be played at post mortem for me. So because I think I have a bunch of periods, songs, kind of periods in your life. And I'm like, all right, like this one was important to me at this time, and this one was important to me, and it's growing a lot. So my funeral is going to be longer and longer. But as I listen to more good stuff, but
You can you can play it live for us.
Yeah, of course, of course.
yeah. But all right, we're going to get right into it. We'll go from funeral to fun here. In Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. Hey, you can't spell funeral without fun, just so you know. So,
It's true.
but basically, Pete Peterson party pack of questions. You're going right in a row. It's pretty rapid fire. It's 20 questions right in a row. They're really this or that, food based mainly. So we'll start it right now. Here we go. Emanuel Ayvas, Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. Chips or pretzels?
Chips.
Hulu or Netflix?
Netflix.
All right. Would you rather be a ninja or a pirate?
Ninja.
All right. You ever heard of circus peanuts? These orange peanuts that you can find at the gas station?
Uh-huh.
You like them?
I don't hate them as much as I thought I did. I they get stuck in your teeth. When I was little, I would detested them, but as I've gotten older, I think that they're not horrible, but I wouldn't ever really probably choose to eat them.
Fair.
Yeah.
I'm a big circus peanut guy, so I always like to ask people if they like them, since Tash thinks it's a moment of either you're a psychopath and you like them, or you're not one and you do. So
I
I'm
used
glad
to
you
feel
share a
that
little
way.
bit.
I
It's
used to
looking
feel
out
that
for
way.
people's general health.
But I think I was being too hard on them. I ate them again. I was like, they're not that bad. I don't understand why I was so angry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Are
Here, it's not
aliens?
that bad.
All right. Are aliens real?
Absolutely.
All right. Salad or soup?
Soup.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
I mean, tea probably, because I'm an old man who has acid reflux now and I can't handle caffeine, so I have to probably tea. Yeah.
All right. Well, that kind of leads into the next one. Night in or night out? What would you rather have, Brent?
Oh my god. Usually night out.
Okay.
I'd say night in, but I'm full of shit. I have a lot of energy still, so I'm into it.
I like it. I like it. Would you rather see the sunrise or the sunset at the end of the night out or the beginning of night out?
Uh, I mean, probably the sunset, I'd say.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. Ranch or blue cheese?
I
What do
don't
you
like
dip in? Neither of them?
ranch or blue cheese. Can I say neither? I'm not into them. I don't know why.
All right. Not into the dips. All right. Fair enough. Club or bar? What are you more likely going to?
Bar.
He's a barman. All right. Do you believe in magic?
Absolutely.
All right. All right. What about love at first sight?
Uh, does that mean I have to believe in love?
Oh, you don't even believe in love.
I do. Yeah, you can fall in love at first sight. I think love has more in common with an illness than anything else. But maybe there's many factions of it. If it's intimate love, it's that. But love, yeah, I guess, yeah, love at first sight. If you have a kid, I think you would have it. I don't have
Yeah,
kids, but I feel that way about my nieces and nephews.
that's fair.
So I think that yes, then I agree that it exists.
Okay. Peaches or apples? What would you rather have?
Apples.
Donut or a bagel?
Oh man. You're talking to a New Yorker too, my God. Jersey, I mean, damn. I mean, probably I would say bagel, but I think donut tastes better. But bagel is like you could enjoy a bagel more, so I would say bagel.
All right, bagel.
Although I had a
Guac?
really good donut today, like unbelievable. It was so good.
Man, the
Brooklyn has
tear,
good food.
the tear in the New Yorker's mind over donuts or bagels. I like it. It's a
Yeah.
faction. All right, guac or salsa?
Guac.
Okay. Corn off the cob or on the cob?
Um,
On. Okay. Tenders or wings?
wings.
Wings. All right. When you walk into a party and jam comes on, are you doing the robot or the worm?
At my age, at my age, I'm probably doing a robot. Yeah, I
All
don't even
right.
think much of a worm guy. I think maybe in high school I was a worm guy. And I think that those days ended with. I was more like dangle from the balcony guy. I think, but those days are over too. I've grown up. Yeah. By grown up, I mean my back wants to go out.
Gotcha. All right. Our final question to Pete Peterson's Party Pack questions. If you can name two bands that we might not know that we ought to check out, maybe they're your friends, maybe there's somebody from Brooklyn, but two bands we ought to check out that we might not know. That's how we grow this thing. Who would those be?
Alabaster de Plume, who is a good friend of mine, who's just a magician. I mean, the man is like a priest. He's wonderful. Really love his stuff. And Floating Points. Have you guys heard Floating Points? Oh my god, so good. I could go on, but I'd say those are the two like contemporary ones. I'll pick ones that like are young and happening now. In the like literally happening now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're happening too, I guess.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, we'll have to check out Alabaster de Plume and Floating Points. Emanuel, you have been lovely in the Pete Peterson Party Packing Questions. You conquered it. Tash, I'm going to send it up to you for this to get wrapped up in a bow. Here we go.
All right, people. Well, Emanuel, we have loved having you on. It's been a pleasure getting to, learn more about your background, learn about some of these badass songs you're putting out. We can't wait for Emanuel and the Fear to release some new stuff. Everybody out there, go check him out. He's all over the place. Got some great jams, not just the ones we talked about. All kinds of shit. Go listen to him. But Emanuel, thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully we can see you soon.
Yeah, for sure. Pleasure. My pleasure. And I have a song coming out tomorrow with one of the original Emanuel the Fear members. Just the two of us put it out, which I think you'll really dig if you like Emanuel the Fear.
Right.
Basically, people. So you should check it out.
Everyone, go check him out. Emanuel and the Fear. Emanuel, thank you so much. Take care.
Appreciate it.